Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all doing? A good Monday evening to y'all. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Man, it's hot down here in Houston, but I hope y'all are doing well. Let me start off with a big old SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love reality TV fans. I especially love Big Brother reality TV fans. And especially love you guys that come out here to hang with me on Monday nights live or watch the replay a little bit later. Appreciate all of you guys who join me. Have a little fun. And we got a lot to talk about tonight, don't we? Big Brother, pretty interesting. I want to hear y'all's thoughts about it. If you got other topics you want to talk about, we certainly will. But I'm figuring tonight's going to be primarily BB26. I've enjoyed it so far. I'll tell y'all that, and then we'll talk a little bit more. All right, before I go any further, two things. One, I know we've got some new folks out here who may not have been part of Cliff Notes Live for a while. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for two reasons. One, well, the main one is you'll get notifications when we do shows like this in the evening, but I also do my morning recaps every morning, 15, 20 minutes. It's been going a little longer than that, but I try to keep at least under 30 minutes, a recap of what all has happened overnight. If you sign up for notifications or the channel turn your notifications, you'll get alerted whenever I drop those things. I try to do them early enough so the folks over on the East Coast can check it out on the way to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you got notifications on, you'll always know. So please keep that in mind if you would. And a thumbs up while you're there is always fantastic as well. So howdy to all of y'all. Let me go in now and see who all's out here real quick, and then we'll get right into it. All right, Kennedy Franklin. Kennedy, first in line. How are you doing, Kennedy? I hope everything's going great for you. Marilyn Sutherland. Tim Cox, howdy. My favorite word. People make fun of me for saying howdy. I said it all the time in the house and outside. It's just the way I talk. Howdy back to you, Tim. Brian Hotsteller. Brian, how are you, sir? Angie Hung as well. Angie, I'm glad you're out here. Cheering for those Canadians in the Olympics. Marilyn Sutherland. I see a Cindy Hire. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Mark Taylor. All these BB questions. We'll cover all of them as many as we can here in a second. Karen Hummer as well. Let's see. Paula Scar. Hey, Paula, how are you? Desiree Watts. Jake, the horror movie geek. How are you, Jake? Ed out here as well. Ed, how are you? Michelle Moore. Lisa D. Ashley Colon. Let's see. Lisa D. Tina Harlan Sandstead. How are you, Tina? And I think Annoe. See, I almost forgot about you, Annoe. I didn't forget you about you. I didn't go far enough down the line. Laura Lewis as well. And let's see. Is that it? Logan Hambrick. All of y'all are here. Tammy Flanagan, Colleen. Let's see. Jake Tenham-Nort and Bev77. I think we'll call about there. Andy W. and Georgia and Kendra and Elder. All right. Call Asian and Janet Johnson. Janet, you are such a huge supporter on my YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much for that as well. So first of all, before we go any further, let me just say that I know a lot of kind words have been thrown out to myself, my family, my mom. For those of you who don't know, a little medical emergency, little brain pressure buildup. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but she had to have a quick little surgery. She was in the ICU. Here's the good news. She got moved out of the ICU yesterday into a regular room. So things are looking up, and I appreciate all the kind words, the support, the thoughts and prayers. It means a lot. I truly do feel like y'all out here are a family, an extended family that all have kind of the same focus around Big Brother and reality TV. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, we all thank you. We can get my mom on this show one of these days. We're going to make it happen. Y'all are just going to have to help me encourage her. All right, let's see. A few questions as we go into it, because I know we got a lot to cover tonight. Mark Taylor, is Tucker in a good place? Can he go further? All right, here's the deal. For those of you who may not know, preseason cast assessment, I picked Tucker to win the whole thing. I thought, I also picked Matt to be a top 5 finisher. Yeah, that's not going to work out, but I picked Tucker to win the whole thing. He just seemed like a very charismatic individual. I think Tucker is in a good place. He could be in a great place if he just didn't. I feel like he's overplaying a little bit. I feel like he's a little too, this thing against Lisa, I think he is too busy keeping Lisa as a target, and I think he could be focused on building other relationships a little bit later. He's spending too much time doing that. For those of you who don't know, and if you're new to the show, there are going to be spoilers tonight. So spoiler alert. He just got put on the block this afternoon as a replacement nominee with Kenny pulling himself off. No surprise. He volunteered to do it. Now, if there was ever a week to volunteer to be a pawn, this would be it. But don't ever volunteer to be a pawn. I don't get it. I just think he's playing a little too hard. And here's the other thing. He is so certain about his abilities. If you get overconfident in a house, I think that creates a lot of issues. He had a conversation with Lisa yesterday where he said, I know you have the power. I've studied psychology. I can read your body, your language. You've got the power. She doesn't have the power. And he is so certain. He's so sure of himself. And he's done that with a few other things about thinking he's so certain about different people. If he's saying that just as a way to influence other people, maybe that's okay. But I just think that you have to accept that when you're playing the game of Big Brother, you aren't always going to know everything that's going on everywhere. And if you accept that, it makes it easier to adapt as you go forward. So maybe that's my big thing. Yes, I think Tucker's in a great place. I just think we need to see Tucker and how he adapts to the mid game, the end game, where the easy targets are gone. Right now, Matt went home. They've got some easy targets in the house, right? Angela and Lisa, I think they'll both be pre-jury, and probably Kenny to some degree as well. I think that's going to be 3 more pre-jury people. They're going to feel like they've got this game figured out. We've had people in past seasons say, this game's so easy. Just kind of floating, making it to the end. No, it gets a lot harder when the targets start reducing. You got a lot fewer people to pick, especially when you're putting 3 people on the block every week. So we'll see how Tucker adapts once there aren't easy targets in this house and easy people to go pick on. And then we'll find out. All right. Mark is saying, how would you rate the show this year? I'd give it a B-. Oh, you're being too critical, Mark. I get it. I'll give it a B+. And the only reason I don't give it just a little bit higher is because I got a little frustrated with the feeds that were going on. Now, I'll say this. My mom was in the hospital. I spent a lot of time over the weekend in the waiting rooms. It was fantastic having the live feeds sitting there on my phone, able to watch the live feeds the whole time. I say the whole time because the feeds were down a whole lot. I'd go in, I'd visit with the doctor, talk, do whatever you do, and sit down and say, okay, I got about 30 minutes. Let's see what's going on in the Big Brother house. And I hear that same jingle song over and over and over again. Got that buried in my head. When I die, 100 years from now, I'm not saying anytime soon, when I die, I'm going to have something in my will saying, do not play the Big Brother song anywhere close to where my service is going on. I'm also going to say, don't put anything about Big Brother on my tombstone, because I don't want that to be the hallmark of my entire existence. But yeah, how did I get there? I don't know. Yeah, I spent a lot of time watching the feeds. Again, I think it's fantastic, Mark. I think the cast, as crazy and as chaotic as they are, they did a heck of a job picking this cast. I like the cast. Twists have not been too crazy so far. I'm okay with the twist. So yeah, I'm good with it so far. I think it's going to turn into a fantastic season. Now, that could all blow up tomorrow, especially with some of the chaos we got in that house. We just don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with Angela. I remember Rachel Swindler saying, yeah, I don't know what's going on with this Angela either. She is someone who said that, Hurricane Angela. Yeah, she is definitely Hurricane Angela in this house. She's stirring a lot of things up, and she's not the only one. You've got Angela, you've got Tucker, you've got Lisa. Those 3, I think, are the big ones stirring the pot. And then you've got little people, I mean, not literally little people, all old Rubina, but you've got like Quinn just stirring the pot from the background. I feel like there's some people that are pretty good about pushing other people into activities and all of that. So anyway, well, and I say Rubina talked Tucker into going to talk to Lisa yesterday. So I love the people in this cast. I absolutely do. It's going to be fun. All right, a lot more questions. Let's see. We've got Tim Cox saying, looks like Angela is on tap tonight. She is every night, right? And Angie Young saying, why do you think production is hiding Angela from the live feeds? I thought about that because I've seen some people, especially over the weekend, saying, oh, she's getting ready to self-evict, or production doesn't want anyone talking about Angela because it's going to expose things that she's done that we don't want to know about. I'm not saying that's not possible, right? It is strange. There has been a comment or two made by some house guests suggesting that maybe they have been told not to talk as much about Angela? Is it because they're trying to protect her from something that happened? I don't know. It's possible, but we've never seen that level of protection in the past, right? I think it's more likely this. Here's a little thing that some of y'all know, maybe not everyone. There is a psychologist on call on that show the entire time, from before you ever start till after you get out. There are mental health professionals to help people. And we were all told, if you ever have an issue and you need to talk to someone, come into the diary room and we will talk to you and make sure that everything is going okay. They take it seriously. They understand the stress that some of these house guests are under. I think it is entirely possible, and I do not know this. This is purely speculation on my part. I think it is entirely possible that you have someone like Angela who is so hot and cold. When she is happy, she is on top of the world. She is giddy. She's almost annoyingly arrogant in the way she plays the game when things are going her way. When they're not going her way, she is at the bottom of the hill. Woe is me, Eeyore. Life is horrible, and things just aren't going great, right? There's not a lot of in between for Angela. She's always hot and cold. And with that mixed in with the stress that this game creates, I just think she's a powder keg. I just think it's a tough situation to be in. She is probably being challenged. I know she's a cancer survivor, so there are things that she has done in the past that are incredible challenges that she has had to face. And I bet if you looked at it, she faced them and did wonderful things with them, right? But there's just something about that house when you know that there are people actively working against you that just gnaws on you after a while. And it would not surprise me if Angela did not have a conversation with one of the mental health people that are part of this cast. And it may have been purely for her own sanity and protection that they may have said, hey, you don't have to interact with these people. You don't have to keep going back and forth. Just go park yourself somewhere, relax, try to come up with whatever kind of zen you need to find and make it happen. And they may have turned right around and mentioned to some of the house guests as well that, hey, Angela's taking a little break from the game for a little bit. She's still here. She's still playing. But please, if you would, respect, her needing just a little time for herself. Again, it's all speculation. So don't be posting us on the internet. Cliff said that Angela had talked to a psychologist. No, I didn't. It's just me guessing what's going on. It could be something much more simple than that. It could just be that Angela is fed up. She knows that she's in a bad position right now. And the rest of the house guests are more than willing to let her go off on her own and kind of ostracize herself. And they'll continue to play the game and do their own thing. We don't know. I will say this. I hope she finds her happy place. Whatever that is, Angela needs to find her happy place, because we're not just talking about a game sometimes. Sometimes these things affect you so much when you get out. It can affect you. One, because social media pushes people along sometimes, even when they're out, and makes things even more difficult. But two, it is an incredible stressful situation. So I'm hoping Angela, win or lose, goes home this week, whatever, that she's able to find some peace once she gets out and is happy with, she won the first HOH. She's made her mark. People are going to be talking about her for a long time, regardless of whether or not she stays in this game. So I'm hoping she does okay. All right, Karen Hummer saying, is there really such a thing as a production plant to stir up the house? No, I don't think so. If there was ever a production plant, I would have blamed it on them when they had people all knowing each other in the house and all of that during my season. I don't think they need a production plant to stir things up. One, if it ever got revealed, it would blow up so badly on CBS and Fly on the Wall and In the Mall and all the people involved with Big Brother. Why take that chance? Because remember I said about these mental health professionals? I also feel like there's the mental health professional that's the little angel sitting up on top of your shoulder that's saying, it'll be okay. You're a wonderful person. Don't worry about it. And then there's the other little mental health professional over here holding the pitchfork and talking to production saying, hey, you want to poke him a little bit more? Ask him in the diary room who's conspiring against them. Talk to him and ask him if they saw people whispering. Now, I don't think they're just a plant, because they don't need to have a plant. They can make you so paranoid just by the questions that they ask you inside that diary room. I remember going in there at times feeling okay in my position in the game. And then they'd say, Cliff, how certain are you that you've got the loyalty of let's throw out Nicole. How certain are you, Cliff, that Nicole's going to keep you over Kat? Considering everything, have you thought everything out? Just give us your thinking of how this goes. It's like, well, we're ride or dies. I think she's going to keep me, but now I don't know, because you brought it up and you're making me nervous. And there were things that they did during my season that was similar to that. Just little suggestions about, walk us through your thought process. And there were a lot of what ifs. What if, Cliff, that's not the case? What would happen if you found out that so-and-so really was planning to vote a different way, or so-and-so threw out a hinky vote this direction? It was them who did it. They get you so ramped up during those diary room sessions when they want to. And so, no, I don't think you need a plan. I just think you need people asking the right questions in those diary rooms. The diary rooms serve two purposes. One, they get the content that they need for the episodes that we see, 3 times a week, all the silly stuff, the good stuff, all that. But they're also there just to get your thoughts and to help develop a storyline. If I say, hey, look, I'm ride or die with Nicole no matter what happens, well, then they may be able to tell a different story than if I say, yeah, I'm saying that, but first chance I get, she's out the door. They use that to get inside your head a little bit and craft the stories that they think are going to happen on down the road. And they use it to poke you a little bit too. All right. Let's see. What else do we have on here? Karen is saying, if it comes to Angela and Lisa, who do you think the House will vote for? They've been going back and forth, right? You've got someone like Tucker who was saying that he wants Lisa out the door. You've got someone like Joseph who's saying, I think Lisa is just too, she's getting a lot of blame and getting a lot of extra criticism that isn't really deserved. We saw some of that last night. 5 of the ladies of the House were up in the HOH room, really just kind of ragging on Lisa. Maybe a few things deserved, a lot of things undeserved. They say, oh, she doesn't shower. Well, yeah, we've seen her in shower. Yes, she does. Just people being critical. It's easy to be a mean girl in the Big Brother house, because no one wants to be isolated. No one wants to be the target. Well, what's the easiest way to calm you down from that paranoia? Find a lot of people that are all saying bad things about someone else, so you don't have to feel as bad, because you're thinking, well, at least they aren't saying it about me. At least not that I know about, right? But yeah, I think based on that, it seems like Lisa could be the target. But at the end of the day, I think Angela goes home, because I just think that Lisa at least is trying to play the game. I think there's people who may, when push comes to shove, say, why should we get rid of Lisa? She seems to have bigger people that she's going to go after rather than myself. Let's maybe get rid of her, or keep her so she can go after XYZ. Whereas Angela is just kind of done. She just doesn't seem like she wants to be here anymore, which is what I'm seeing. And let's just go ahead and get her out and put her out of her misery, so to speak. Of course, so much of it comes down to who wins this AIBB arena competition on Thursday, right? If one of them pulls himself off the block, and it could happen. It absolutely could happen. So far, these have not been endurance competitions that we've been seeing. Now, that may change, but I think before we see any kind of endurance competition on the AIBB arena, I think the next step is going to be to some skill competitions. We saw kind of a mental competition where they had to watch all those video screens. I see one similar to my battle back, where you're rolling balls or walking a plank, or I see something happening that isn't just pure brute strength. I don't think they want to use that too often as a way for people to save themselves. So it's entirely possible that Lisa or Angela is going to win this thing. But yeah, if I was betting right now, I'd say Angela. But some of it's really going to depend on Lisa over these next few days. Does she get people on her side? And maybe she gets people on her side because they finally believe her when she says, I don't have a power and this and that. She may get people on her side just because they start feeling sorry for her if they see other people in the house starting to pile on. What's the vote? 6-5-5, I think, this week to get someone out. So we'll see. Now, originally the target was Lisa. Chelsea said if it came down to a tie, she was going to vote Lisa. She didn't want to come to a tie. but she would vote Lisa. But it seems like the tide's been changing a little bit more towards Angela. So I don't know. We're going to find out on Thursday. All right. Kendra is saying, what is slop and what does it taste like? Let me say this first of all. I was never have not during my season, so I never had to eat slop, but I certainly tried it. Here's another thing that some of y'all may not know. There's different types of slop. There's regular slop. There is gluten-free slop. There is soy slop. I did not touch soy slop, but they actually had slop that was created for people with different dietary desires, restrictions, whatever. But I tried just the regular old slop. The closest I can come to is if you went and bought Quaker Oats, one of those big containers, and you cooked it up, no milk or anything, just water. You cooked it up. When you got done, you ate it all by itself. No butter, no brown sugar, no honey, none of the stuff that makes oatmeal just that much better. Just eat the straight up oatmeal. It's very similar to that. It's not bad. It's just, and here's the other thing. They put a lot of protein powder apparently in it. So it's a kind of gummy texture. It's like oatmeal, but a little stickier because of that protein powder. So it's just this gummy little stuff that you eat with zero flavor whatsoever. There's nothing great about it. I tell you, if I'd been on slop, I would have so many condiments. I'd be drinking a lot of coffee, eating pickles and ketchup and all kinds of crazy things. And having the slop is just a minor accessory to everything else. It's not great. When I was in the Big Brother house, they actually had a little piece of paper that had all the ingredients in slop, so that anyone who really wanted to check the dietary could see exactly what was in those ingredients. I took that list, and I may or may not have put it in my suitcase when I got evicted and thought that would be really cool to reference once I get out of this house. It would have been, except the fact that all your luggage is inspected as you go out, and someone found that list, and yeah, I didn't get it. It was gone when I got my luggage. So I wish maybe I should have spent more time trying to memorize it. But yeah, there's nothing great about slop. But the main thing, in my opinion, is just that it's not just that you have to eat that, but you can't eat all the other stuff that keeps you going throughout the day. So yeah, it's not the end of the world in terms of have-not restrictions. I've said it before, and I'll continue to preach it. If you really want to make have-nots miserable, don't let them go in the backyard while they're a have-not. Make them stay indoors the entire time. You do that, and people will be fighting all over each other to try to avoid being picked as a have-not. Right now, it's like, it's part of the experience. I got to be a have-not. Yeah, sure, bring it on. Not if they don't let you go out in the backyard. Suddenly, everything changes at that point. All right. Callie Asian. Hey, Callie Asian said, did you at any point think about self-evicting? How do you mentally deal with adversities in the Big Brother house? Never a thought. Never a consideration. Maybe I've been on this earth long enough to understand, or maybe it's just something within me. You don't quit. No way. There was a time or two where maybe I steeled myself to accept the fact that maybe I wasn't going to last, that maybe I was going to be going home, and that my career as a Big Brother contestant was going to be a lot shorter than I thought. There's times where I mentally tried to prepare for that, but no, I never, ever in a million years considered self-evicting, because I knew as soon as I did it, I would feel so miserable, so horrible. It would be something that I would have to, I'd have a regret for the rest of my life. And I felt that way with the other people in the house as well. I don't ever want to see someone self-evict. Now, if they do it for physical health reasons or mental health reasons, you've got to take care of yourself, right? I don't have any problem with people who do that when they realize that their body has reached the limit that they can't go any further. But when people self-evict just because it's tougher than they thought it was, or I'm getting ready to get evicted anyway, I don't want to stick around and talk to these boneheads because I'm going to get. If you do it just because it's convenient and easy and all that, zero. Now, big old X from Old Boss Hog here. I don't have a lot of respect or tolerance for the folks that quit for bad reasons. Again, for those who need to, you got full. I understand completely. During my season, remember my first week, or first HOH, I was on the block. Kat was on the block as well. Kat talked about self-evicting. Now I look back and say, was she really considering it, or was it just her playing the game that Kat played so well of being who she was? But at the time, she was talking about self-evicting. She was very upset that she was on the block, thinking this was not fun, not great. Emotional, personal thing that just she was feeling really down in the dumps. I went in and had a long talk with her and said, "You cannot self-evict, Kat. You will regret it forever. I don't want you to do it. You don't understand how much this will impact you if you do it. You just stick it out. It's one more week, even if you go home, whatever. It's just one more week." And I felt proud that I talked her out of doing it. Again, maybe she never considered it, and she's like, I got him. But yeah, I don't ever want to see anyone self-evict because I think it's a stigma. It's something that you got to deal with for the rest of your life. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for most of us. Take full advantage of it every single time. I mean, to the point that slip and slide, once it was over, I kept on doing it because I knew that the chances of me ever getting to do slip and slide again were so minimal. I wasn't ready to ever end that experience, in that adventure. So now I never would have self-evicted. They're lucky that I walked out, that they didn't have to just drag me out at the end of that thing. They didn't drag me out screaming and hollering in front of Julie. Could have happened. I don't know what they do if you refuse to leave the house. But yeah, no self-evict here. All right, Crosses and Crowns is saying, I don't think 3 people on the block is going to last the whole season. And then Chris Lair saying, how long do you think the 3 nominees and the AI comp twist will last past the start of jury? Chris, I think I agree with both of y'all. I don't think it'll last all season. Heaven help us if it does. When you have few people on the block available to put on the block, it gets a little tough. Yeah, I think jury is probably a good stopping point for it because there's a couple of things. One, 3 people out of 15, 16 people, you're talking 20% of the house that's getting put on the block, right? That's a lot of people. That's a lot. If you go ahead and did it when you had like the final 9 and you still put 3 people on the block, suddenly 1/3 of the house is going on the block. I think you lose the drama, you lose the stress of being on the block if you take it too far. So yeah, I think another few weeks would be fine with me. Now here's the other thing. By having 3 people on the block and then this extra AIBB arena in place, I really think it's cutting down on blindside situations, because now, say they want to get out. Who should we put out there? Matt from last week. Say they wanted to get Matt out of the house and they wanted to blindside him. In a normal season, you just wait until after the veto competition and you put him up. And at that point now, he never gets a chance to pull himself off. He never gets a chance to compete. You send him out the door. He had an extra chance last week. He had that AIBB arena. Kimo won, and so it worked out, and they were able to get Matt out the door. But I would be very worried if I'm Chelsea, and we saw Chelsea saying, "I just don't want to make waves this week." I saw what happened to Angela. I just don't want to make waves. But I can certainly see as an HOH saying, "Gosh, I'm already having to put 3 people on the block, which is really difficult because that's one more person that's going to be upset with me." But now if I take a big shot, well, look at my season. I put up Jack and Mickey, Jackson Mickey, pretty 2 big alpha bro male kind of guys. I put both of them up thinking one or the other, I need to break up this alliance. If we had this extra period where they could compete to pull themselves off, I just think people are less willing to take a chance to get at the big targets, knowing that you have 2 opportunities, the veto and the BB arena, for someone to win and pull themselves off the block. And I think it makes blindsides much less likely as long as it's in play. So no, I hope, give it 2 more weeks and we'll call it a twist that's done. And then they can move. Ainsley can go do whatever else she wants to do to screw up with their lives and all of that. We'll see. I got another question for y'all. I'm just curious to see what y'all think. We've got 2 powers. One, it seems like everyone at this point knows that Mackenzie's got a power. And doesn't seem like anyone really, except Angela, knows about the. All right, Bev 77. Thank you. We're thinking the same way. Do you think Angela's forgotten Quinn's twist? She says she can't remember things. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Yeah, I think she remembers things, things like that. We've got 2 powers out there. They both expire in another 2 weeks. We're getting close. Do you think those powers are going to be used, or are they just going to disappear? Quinn, at one point, who's a huge power, hijack at HOH. Is that not incredible? he had talked at one point about how he would love to win the HOH and then hijack his own HOH, put other people up, big people that you want to make a move against, and hopefully send one of them out the door. And who would ever accuse him of taking over his own HOH? So he'd be way under the radar in terms of accusations. I thought that was a pretty brilliant, smart idea. Of course, you have to win HOH first, but I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. I think it was last night, Quinn was saying, I've told so many people that I don't have the power and this and that, that he was saying, I feel like I'm almost going to have to die with it now, that, unless I really, really think I can stay anonymous when I use this power, I may have to just let it go away. And yes, he can use it anonymously, but the longer you wait and the fewer people that are in his house, the longer you wait and the more that people start identifying who is aligned with who and who's tight with who, it makes it harder and harder for you to do something anonymously and be able to get away with that without people saying, well, there's only a few people that would have put so-and-so up on the block. And Quinn, you're one of them. Remember last season, was it the hidden HOH? And we were a little concerned. I was a little upset. I thought it was used way too late in the season to be effective. I like the fact that this one started so early, but 4 weeks and it's gone. We may not see it used at all. And then Mackenzie, she said, I think she was telling Tucker, she said, look, if week 4 comes up and I'm safe, but one of the people I work with needs help, then I'll use it then, which is what I'm hearing is I'm not using it on anyone because I want to make sure I hold it back for myself in case I need it. And only when I am 100% certain I don't need it, then maybe I'll use it. I think it's entirely possible that both of those power upgrades, we're not going to see them ever get used. I could be wrong, but I could see that. And speaking of which, we had the two, what do they call them? The mascots pick, Chelsea and Cedric from week 1. I thought maybe we would see that continue for a few weeks more. I guess that was just the first week and that's it. So really from a twist standpoint, the only thing we've still got going for us is the 3 nominees in this extra AIBB arena. The other ones, maybe they come into play, maybe they don't. But I'm kind of okay with that. I'm not ever a fan of a season that has so many twists that it interrupts too strongly the gameplay. And I don't think these twists have done that yet so far. Again, I'm feeling pretty good about it. All right, Angie saying, for the watch this video comps, how big and clear are the screens? They're and then Angie saying, I wonder what they do with colorblind contestants. That's a good question. We've had some colorblind contestants, right? But I don't know that we had any in our season. I assume that they would know that going in and maybe could have higher contrast situations or things, things where you don't ask questions about what color shirt someone was wearing in such and such competition, things like that. You would hope they would accommodate something that really is a disability, right? I mean, it's a health issue, but I don't know. As far as the screens themselves, they're pretty big. We had a few competitions where we watched something like that. Patch Perfect was one, the HOH that I won, and we watched on a big screen. And for those of you who don't remember, it was which of the merit badges, I don't think they call it, which of the badges occurs most often, or which of the badges is most often next to a fishing pole, and different questions like that. And we had a screen that was probably, I want to say 25 feet high by maybe 40 feet long. I mean, big, the size of a wall in a house, that doors outside wall of a house, a 2-story house or something. It's something along those sizes. And we were on one side of the yard. That was on the other side. So it was a pretty big screen that we were looking at. I think we did a 4th of July where we were watching fireworks and, what came after the red fireworks, things like that. That was a pretty big screen too. I want to say 30 foot by 20 foot or something. So it varies a little bit from competition to competition, but they're decently large. Now, having said that, there were competitions where because I wear glasses, I brought contact lenses into the contest, into the house. And I would always ask, I'd say, Big Brother, can you tell me, do I need glasses or contact lenses? Because we'd always say, do we wear athletic clothes? Do we wear dressy clothes? And sometimes they'd tell us that. And normally they'd say, you need to wear something that you're comfortable moving around in, but it's not going to really be athletic. Okay, so it's going to be, something from that. or they'd say, no, wear whatever you want. And then, it's probably going to be a booth type competition. But I would always ask about the glasses versus the contacts, because that would help me understand if it was going to be hardcore athletics, if there was going to be spraying stuff involved and all of that. Because there was a time or two when I was a little bit worried about, could I see the screen? If I went out there and got sprayed with stuff or whatever, would I be able to see? Think about it, and then we'll move on to another question. What the bleep was the veto competition that I won in the double eviction. So at that point in time, there were 6 of us in the house. On that one, I think there were only 4 of us competing, or I guess it must have been 5 of us competing. So the booths were smaller. The screen, if I recall, was much smaller, more like a 60-inch big screen TV set, because it was a lot closer to us, because there were so many fewer of us competing. So it varies a little bit from start of season to the end of the season. But yeah, they give you a big old screen to look at. All right, let's see what else we've got on here. Logan Hambrick saying, who is your dark horse player at the moment? Oh, dark horse. That's a good question. Let's see. I think there are people like Quinn who are playing a pretty good game. Joseph, I think, is playing a pretty decent game. Who would be my dark horse? I don't think I could call Kenny a dark horse, because I don't think he'll make it. I'm gonna throw out two. I'm gonna throw out this one. Leah could be an interesting. I don't think Leah's gonna win it, but I could see her lasting for a long time. She reminds me a little bit of Kat Dunn from my season. I think she's gonna surprise people. She is going in playing a very I'm here to have fun and all of that, and she doesn't really seem like she's taking control of a lot of the game. I think there's a lot more going on with Leah than people maybe suspect. So maybe she could be my dark horse. I maybe am going to say, though, I think I'm going to go with Joseph. I think he said in his preseason that he feels like he's good enough at all the different challenges that he'll be okay, and he possibly could win if he needed to. But he's not so great at anything that someone's going to look at him and see him as a huge target when it comes to competitions. I think he's playing the game pretty well right now of being that person people like. It seems like they're going to him for consultations. They are interested in his opinions, and yet no one is identifying him as a big target that they want out the door. We've got someone like T-Core who is saying, I want those big old strong bro guys out. She doesn't want any of those guys left over. But the people that she said that she'd be happy keeping from the male side, Kimo and Joseph and Quinn. She wants all the other guys gone. So yeah, Joseph's kind of protected from her. I think the guys like him. I just think Joseph's in a decent position. And I don't know that a lot of people are picking him for the win. So I'll go with Joseph for the dark horse. I'll go with Leah for the really, really, really dark horse. I don't think she'll win, but I think she'll last for a while. All right, C. Garbarino. Nice, C. Garbarino. Are you penalized for self-evicting? Well, within the game, what else can they do to you, right? I mean, you're gone, you're gone. Where you're penalized is that you burn all bridges with CBS. I believe, and I'd have to go back and look, but I think if you walk out the door, we get a little cheddar for playing the game on a week-to-week basis. All that goes away because you haven't fulfilled your contract if you walk out early. Now, it probably has something to do with why. So I have a feeling for some reasons you're still in good graces. For other reasons, they may say, hit the road, Jack. We didn't need you if you're going to do that. I think, you just burn bridges. You're persona non grata. You're probably not coming back for the final. You're not going to be in CBS's good graces in terms of interviews and everything else. You got to kind of look at Jeff Probst over in Survivor. He doesn't like people who self-evict, and I don't blame him. And I think we're not ever going to see Julie Chen up there saying, I'm not even talking to you. Get the hell out of here. You self-evicted. I don't put up with that. Now, we'll never see that from Big Brother. But yeah, the penalizing is that you don't get to enjoy everything that I get to do right now, talking to other Big Brother fans and just being part of the Big Brother family. You get ostracized to some extent. So, there's some kind of penalties that you have to be aware of. I would hope and think before anyone self-evicts, it seems like they always spend a lot of time in the diary room. And I assume that all of that's being laid out of, if you do this, and this is going to happen. And you need to be aware. Don't say we didn't warn you. ahead of time. So yeah, there's a little bit of penalty you pay for it uh, if you choose to walk out the door. Now, having said that, they told us, they said, here's the storage room door. Here's this big red button. If you ever feel the need to leave for whatever reason, you push that button. But unless it is unless it's an emergency, unless this house is on fire or earthquakes or something else, unless you have a dang good reason, if you push that button, your season's over, and that will be a self-eviction. So they make it easy to leave if you want to. It's not like prison, although it feels like it sometimes. Hey, at least prisoners get to go out in the backyard at least once a day, right? And not so much us, but it's entirely voluntary. So God, I could never be in prison. Now, after having spent 3.5 months in there, I don't know how. It's tough. It's tough. All right. Patricia Miller saying, glad Kenny is fighting to stay. Yeah, heck yeah. And Mark the nerd. It took a second. Mark the Nard said, hey, you were fit in at the veto competition last Saturday. Mark saying, do you think Kenny is taking a page out of Evil Dick's book? Wow. Going right to Evil Dick on that one. I'm not putting him to the Evil Dick side of it yet, but Kenny's interesting. I really thought, gosh, you got to fight. I understand what he's going through. It's so hard to fit in with everyone that's so much younger than you are, and to feel like you're really playing the game. And I felt like Kenny had a hard time doing that. I said on one of my morning recaps, as great as it is that you're an undercover cop, and as much as people would think that would make you perfect for this game, as an undercover cop, I have a feeling 80% of what you do is listen. You're not supposed to be out there leading the pack and making the decisions. They probably call that entrapment or something, right? Now, you're supposed to just be sitting back and scribbling down and taking notes and writing down information and documenting everything, which is not what you can do and play the game of Big Brother. You've got to be more active than that. And I feel like Kenny maybe took a while to figure that out. And he's still, there's times I look at him and he's sitting in a room, but he's over in a corner. He's not really participating, or he's out in the backyard talking to the cameras, which I talked to the cameras as well, but I did it while everyone else was asleep. So I tried to be involved while people were up and everything. But no, I'm so glad that he ended up fighting. He got that little fighting spirit after he survived last week, and then he won veto this week. And now I think he's regained his footing. It takes a couple of weeks. God, if I knew at the end what I knew, or if I knew at the beginning what I knew at the end of my season, it would have been so much easier, because it certainly does take a while for you just to figure out how to get your feet under you and do what you need to do to survive in that house, because it's all about relationships. I think he's figuring out. As far as going the Evil Dick route, I think Kenny's a nice guy. I think he couldn't do, should I say? I think he's a nice guy. I don't think that he's got the fortitude to take on the Evil Dick level of evil. I don't see him pouring drinks on anyone's head, or yelling at them in the middle of the night to wake up and just driving them crazy and all of that. I think there's parts of him I feel like a little bit more like me, that maybe he's got his heart's maybe too big to necessarily do that. Now, maybe he'll prove me wrong. I kind of hope he does. Evil Kenny would be a fun add-on character this season, but right now, I don't see it happening. If for no other reason, he was so loyal to Matt. I mean, that was my boy. Send me home if you need to and all that. Evil Dick's not ever going to volunteer. Well, he volunteered to go home to save his daughter, but that was a little different situation. No, I think Evil Dick was a lot more ruthless than Kenny. As much as he says maybe he'll do a little bit more, when push comes to shove, I don't know if he'll do it. Just like it was tough for me to do as well. So now I'm not putting him to that level. But yes, I am glad he started fighting, and I hope he does well and goes far now at this point in time, because I don't think Angela's going to go far. We got to have someone older in that house to represent the older generation. So my bet's on Kenny at this point in time. All right, let's see what else we've got on here. Marilyn Sutherland. Hey, Marilyn said they sure have had the backyard a lot this season. Is that not incredible? You would think with one extra competition that you have to do every Thursday night, that you would have a whole lot less of the backyard available. During my season, almost like clockwork, we would get the backyard back Saturday night around midnight or so, after they tore down from the veto competition that was held. And then we would keep the backyard until Tuesday morning around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And at that point, those sliding doors come down. You can't see out in the backyard. You just start feeling miserable. So what does that work out to? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 days out of 7 that we did not have the backyard. And we felt it. It ramped up the stress and everything else. These house guests, they have it all the time. It blows me away. I wonder if it just has something to do. Seems like they're having a few more competitions. There's a secondary location for a lot of these events. And I wonder if they're having a few more of the events there. There was talk for a long time about trying to make that even bigger and having all the events there so you would always have the backyard. And it never happened during my season, but I wonder if it's a conscious effort to make people, to give people more outdoor time. Maybe they think that that's going to either help the contestants, or they think that we as viewers like to see more backyard going on. Or maybe it's just the type of competitions that they've had so far. They haven't really had any endurance competitions, right? It's all been slide the little shuffle puck, or, watch the screen and give us your answer. Things that are very easy to set up and put down. Once they get to some of these competitions where they're having to hang on to ropes, or they're hanging from a wall, or certainly BB Comics is complex. Some of the endurance competitions that take more, we may see them starting to lose the yard quicker as a result. So I don't know if it's a change in production, a change in thought, intentionally trying to create the yard, or it's just a byproduct of the fact that it seems like the competition so far have moved a little bit away from the pure physical part and a little bit more to the anyone can do it, and it's a little quicker type competition, which I wish they'd had a little bit more of that during my season. I feel like my season was very physically demanding, physical endurance heavy type season. And I know Angie and I have talked about a little bit on DMs and all that it seems like maybe they've changed it a little bit just to accommodate the fact that we've got a larger diversity in age. It's not just one old person in there. You've got half the cast is over the age of 30. Did that come into play when they're thinking of these competitions? Perhaps. Now, I'll say this as well. The person who did competitions during my season is no longer executive producer in charge of games for this season. They have turnover over the years, and they do have a few new people in there. So maybe that's leading to some of this. It may not be protect the old people. It may just be that, hey, let's change things up a little bit just to make it interesting. I like seeing it, though, for whatever reason they're doing it. All right, Jamie Ward is saying, do you think Angela will tell everyone about Quinn's power as she leaves the house? That is $1 million question, isn't it? Oh, if I was Quinn, I would be so nervous about that. I think if I'm Quinn right now, just the fact that Angela may go home, I would be going out of my way to go up and talk to her. Say what Ed's saying, Quinn has to win this HOH and use the power next week to hide his HOH. Yeah, I could see that happening. Once Angela's out of the house and she doesn't say anything, then he has the ability to use his power, right? If Angela doesn't go, you're right, Ed. If Angela doesn't use the power this week, then he can't use it next week because she'll call him out on it. And then maybe the fourth week he could, depending on what happens. But yeah, if he can get Angela out the door this week and she doesn't say anything, well, then he's gold going forward, which makes me think that he very much is going to want Angela out. He said at some point last night, he said, look, I would prefer Angela to go. She would be my choice. But if y'all all want to go Lisa, I can ride with that. Could he really? Maybe. But he may still be doing some influencing as well. But with the idea or the possibility that Angela's going home, I would be up there. I would be her closest friend no matter what. No matter how much maybe I don't want to do it. And he said last night, she doesn't like me anymore. Yeah, that may be. But I would be up there saying, look, I'm sorry. And I think Angela's one of those kinds, if Quinn came up and said, look, you accused me of pointing out that you'd pointed out that group in the backyard, and you feel like I betrayed you on this, and this. If I'm Quinn, maybe I'm fessing up to someone saying, look, yes, I did it. It's nothing personal. It was me trying to play the game. I felt like I was in trouble, and just be very apologetic with Angela. I feel like that maybe would work well with her. I feel like Angela's one of those that she wants to be told that she's right. She came in with her preseason assessment saying, I can read everyone. I know everyone just by reading their faces and everything else. I think she's one of those that wants to know that she's right. And so if Quinn goes in and says, you were right, when you accused me of that, you were right. I just hope that you understand it didn't have anything to do with you. I think there's a path where he could get enough forgiveness for her, or at least enough understanding from her, that she would be sympathetic enough that when she does walk out the door, she wouldn't be calling him out by saying he has a power. Maybe. But if this was Dungeons and Dragons, she would be chaotic and neutral, lawful, even not little. She's Mrs. Chaos. So she may do it just to stir things up on the way out. But I have a feeling if he can get her feeling more like when they first started, that she would walk out without talking about that power, especially if he maybe hints that he's going to use it to take out a few people that she really does want out the door. I think there's something that could be done. But from a viewer standpoint, what could be more exciting than watching an HOH live or a live eviction, and as she walks out, she hollers something like that? I'm gonna be watching for it. We will see what happens. It's gonna be interesting because I don't know what Angela would do. It just depends on her mood that evening. If she's in a bitter mood, she may burn the house down as she walks out. If she's in a better mood, which I think she will be, because I think acceptance will have hit by then I think she'll be thinking more about the great experience that she enjoyed and who she wants to win. And then I think maybe he can get away with it. All right, Patty Bell is saying, don't you think they should keep their powers quiet? Yes. Don't ever tell anyone that you've got powers. That's crazy. I don't know why they do it. During my season, Ovi won the whacktivity. I so much wish he had told me that he won it, and maybe we could have made some things happen and all that, but he didn't. And I've never blamed Ovi for not telling me, because that was the smart thing to do. Of course, his mistake was he didn't tell me, but he told Christy and Jack and a whole bunch of other people, and he just gave him that much more impetus to get him out the door before he could use that power. Yeah, don't tell anyone your powers. No, especially in the first week or two, because no matter how tight you think you are with that person, at the end of the day, you may not be tight with them at all a few weeks down the road. And now you've limited what you can do with the power. Not only do not say a word, but do what you can to point it at someone else. Use that as an opportunity to get the target on someone else by doing whatever you have to do to make someone think that they've got it instead of you. Yeah. Information is gold in this house, and I'm amazed. Now, I get why people do it. People tell someone else they have a power because, if I tell them, then they're going to know I trust them, and they're going to think we've got this special bond. Quinn told Angela because she was HOH, and he thought, well, she's got power. If she knows I have power, it makes sense then that we work together. She only had power for 1 week, and then it goes away. Meanwhile, he still has a power. Advantage Angela now, because there's no scoop that he's got on her, but there is certainly scoop that she has on him. Don't ever say that you got the power. I'm a huge advocate of keeping your lips sealed. Says the guy who was overheard talking because he had a very loud voice, but it wasn't intentional, at least on my part. All right. Just a regular gamer saying, thoughts on Kimo. I'll say this. I misread Kimo based on his preseason assessment. I thought Kimo was going to come in and stir the pot, and he was just going to be this very jovial, full of happy, dancing around kind of Kimo, the Hawaiian guy who's always up for a joke and a laugh. He's a little bit more of a sad sack. That sounds negative, and I don't mean it like that, but he's a little more quiet. He's a little more introspective. As a person, I've enjoyed hearing some of his stories. He and Chelsea had stories about him coming out and things like that. That I enjoy hearing about him and knowing more about who he is as a person. But I thought he was going to screw things up. Not screw things. I thought he was going to stir things up a lot more than he's done. Instead, he's kind of just sitting back. He's another one of those, a little bit like Joseph, that I feel like everyone likes. Everyone, why would we go after Kimo this week? Which means that he's going to go a long way. The problem with Kimo, and maybe with Joseph as well, it's fine not to do anything, to be the guy that everyone loves and no one wants to send out the door, because why waste my HOH on someone that is not a threat and that we all like? That's all great and fine and dandy. But when you get to the end of the season, a la Bowie Jane from last season, you've got to have a little bit of a resume. So at some point, Kimo's going to need to be focusing on what can I do that I'm going to be able to remember, that people are going to be able to acknowledge somewhere down the road that I controlled the game. I got this person out. I did this or that. He needs to make sure that he doesn't stay so far under the radar. 757. I knew that's going to happen. Janet Johnson saying, who are your favorites at this time? Well, Janet, it depends if you're talking favorites to win or favorites just in terms of watching. Tucker's always good for a little quip here and there. Sometimes he gets grates my nerves just a little bit because he's so convinced sometimes, and a little bit of in your face, which sometimes bugs me. But I like Tucker. I really like Quinn. I think Quinn is just playing a pretty amazing game. He's an interesting character. I think strategy-wise, he's doing okay. Who else? Chelsea. I came in thinking I wasn't sure about Chelsea because she said something about how she was kind of come in and kick some ass and all. And I thought, well, sometimes you have a fine line between kicking ass and getting a little too playing the game too hard. I think she's doing pretty well. I'm a big fan. In fact, the question earlier about dark horses, Chelsea may be in there as well. I think Chelsea actually, I don't have to think about it. I think Chelsea is playing a fantastic game. So I may say Chelsea also. Our Tommy Braska is saying, I laugh every time they say Lisa has a power. I do too. And I feel so sorry for her. How can you convince her? How can you convince other people you don't have a power? Someone pointed out, said, look, the only people that could have this power is Lisa, T-Core, or Quinn. It's got to be one of y'all three. And so it's not even as though you can blame everyone else. We know it's Quinn, but no one else in the house knows except for Angela. Lisa didn't even vote yes. She's getting blamed when she did not even vote yes on that first night, or I think she was the second night. But I feel so sorry for her. It is horrible being in that house and having someone say something about you that's not true, and you just don't have a way to convince them otherwise. I said in my morning recap this morning, if I was Lisa, I think I'd be saying something like, all right, Tucker, put your money where your mouth is. We're gonna go down there. We're gonna stand by that exit door, and let's just agree that whoever's wrong self-evicts immediately. If it proves that I have the power and I use it at some point or whatever, I'll self-evict. If someone else stands up and says, no, I have the power, it's not Lisa, then you self-evict. I'd be trying to challenge Tucker a little bit. It wouldn't work, but that's frustrating. But yeah, I laugh too, because we know what these house guests don't know. During my season, there was so much I didn't know that I would have paid any sum of money I had just to pick the brain of a few live feed viewers, because we know so much more than they do. And case in point, Lisa and that power. All right, Terry's saying, would you go back on a Big Brother reunion season? Say yes. Yes, absolutely. Oh, well, I'd talk to Sharon. I mean, we'd certainly have to work it out and all of that, but because it was a sacrifice for the family. But yeah, how could I resist doing something like that? Sure, I would. That would be so much fun. It would be interesting to see who else came back. I'd be so talking about paranoid. I'd be so paranoid that everyone else had gamed the season. I was coming into just a trap that was in trouble from the beginning. I hope that wouldn't be the case. Yeah, it'd be so much fun to go back and play again. Maybe. Hey, CBS, call me. I am still here waiting. All right, 8 o'clock, guys. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and shut it down. I love doing these shows with y'all. So much fun. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate it. Some of these questions, Dark Horse, I'm still going to think about that one. That was a fantastic question. Thank you for that. A lot of great questions tonight. So thanks to all of y'all. All right. Again, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Turn on the notifications. You can hit the thumbs up as well, because I don't know that makes any difference, but it makes me feel better. I appreciate that. But yeah, please consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, guys, for those of you who like the live shows, I'll see you next Monday. For those of you who watch the morning recaps, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I'll be out bright and early in the morning putting one of these things out. So I'll let y'all know what happened overnight now that we know what's going on with the veto, who the 3 people are going into Thursday. So until tomorrow morning, guys, y'all have a fantastic evening. SKD143. Cheers, my friends. Y'all have a great one. Bye. Let's see. All right, guys. See y'all later.